And it's me being sarcastic, openly stating how fucking devastating it is that we are going back into a fucking nuclear armament agreement with Saudi Arabia. Like, they literally are, they recognize that they're, like, I'm saying it in a joking manner, as in, like, I believe the opposite of this thing. Like, what are we doing? Is this journalism now? Is just like unrestricted neurodivergence? Here, let's do it. Badempanada, genocide defenders get even worse. He is talking loner box here, liberal Zionism, and the like. I'm going to go pee real quick, and then we'll continue.
Is what you and your disgusting cronies specifically tried to avoid. It's why you got so angry at Mehdi Hasan for taking a list of crimes and putting them all together to make a broader argument about what Israel is doing in Gaza and why they are doing it. Oh, and one thing that I forgot to mention in the previous section, after Lonerbox got done rehashing that argument about IDF soldiers shooting each other, he then went on to do amateur forensic analysis of the x-rays of the children with bullets in their heads. Those x-rays, by the way, which the New York Times said they had corroborated with actual pictures of the injuries, which they did not publish because they considered them too graphic to show. I personally think they should have published them, because then idiots like this wouldn't be able to try to deny them in this way, but they didn't. So he goes on to do his own little amateur forensic analysis of those x-rays, and he started claiming that they were either fake or that they were misleadingly presented. Basically the same conspiracy theory that pro-Israel propagandists were doing immediately after their release, claiming that the evidence is false. So he was actually engaging in genocide denial that is significantly worse, I would say, than the rest of the genocide denial that he was engaging in there, which probably helps to explain why he privated the VOD. Previously, it was like apologism, and now it was like outright him looking at the forensic evidence and trying desperately to find something wrong with it so that he could claim that it was fake. You know, the whole Pallywood thing. And let's not lose sight of the disgustingness of this, by the way. As I said, this is a pattern of conduct that he and many others, especially his best pal Destiny, have exhibited for a very, very long time, of this desperate, immediate desire to apologize for the genocide in Gaza, to whitewash what Israel is doing. It's not simply a guy having a bad take once or twice that doesn't make any sense. It is a guy who's very clearly desperate to apologize for the genocide, and that is what he's doing. That's why he's doing this. Okay, so after that, he then skipped past most of the rest of the video, like the part where I called him out for lying and saying that the 40 beheaded babies genocide propaganda wasn't spread by Israel itself, and I proved that wrong and showed that it actually was. He then also skipped over Destiny spreading the Pallywood conspiracy theory, and he also skipped over his response to Mehdi Hasan, where he said that even if all of the instances that Mehdi Hasan was citing to say that Israel was committing genocide in Gaza were true, that wouldn't say anything about whether the overall Israeli military campaign was justified or not. I already dealt with those talking points in my original video. I'm not going to rehash them here. But Lonerbox skipped all of that, and he skipped right to the very last point, my very last response to him, which was in regards to this clip, and I will play it again here.
I will happily support this pin because I support the release of all the hostages and
Chat BBT, hey, I've been watching you for a while with different account. Boosting badempanada is gross and worse than anything you've accused D of with respect to Fuentes stepping out of the community now. I'm sorry to see you go, my friend. Dude, I got destroyed on a certain subreddit for saying that you never said badempanada was a good guy. Please say that he's unhinged. It's ironic that people are saying this because I have repeatedly said badempanada is unhinged, and that the only thing I've seen of him are some of his YouTube essays, and ultimately, regardless of how unhinged he is, his YouTube essays are in an entirely different planet. Like, they exist as a standalone product. Badempanada has literally fucking beefed with me. If you consider him to be as bad as Nicolas Fuentes, you are out of your dang mind. I have never seen anything that he has said that is anywhere nearly remotely as bad as Nicolas Fuentes. Nicolas Fuentes is literally a Holocaust-denying anti-Semite. That's so funny. What the fuck? So you love him and agree with everything he says? I don't know enough about many of his positions to say that, but I genuinely am confused as to why someone would do that. Boosting keep singing, I will vote por Donald Trump is beyond the pale. Stepping out to smoke my bong now. I know. All right, let's continue.
let me finish. And I support the release of thousands of Palestinian detainees being raped and tortured and children. Do you support that? Let's swear it together. Do you support the
Badempanada said bombing Tel Aviv would be chill since you'd be killing veterans and not civilians. He's a weirdo. I vehemently disagree with that take. I don't agree with that at all. As a matter of fact, I've routinely criticized people saying shit like that. I don't know in what context he said something like that. He might have been talking about like how bombing Gaza for Hamas soldiers, saying that you're bombing Hamas soldiers is inappropriate in a similar vein to saying bombing Tel Aviv would be inappropriate, or maybe he does believe it. I don't know. But that's not what we're talking about. He is hinged, not unhinged.
Young, do you support the release of Palestinians?
I do not support,
do you support
the release
of
terrorists.
of Palestinian children? Do you support the release of Palestinian children?
Why is he? Oh God, what a fucking creep, man. Again, you can talk about the unlawfulness.
Those tweets were fake. He showed proof in his latest video. You should probably talk about badempanadas in the video. Not really. I don't care. I care about like the stuff that he's talking about with respect to, people defending genocide. I care about like a lot of his. I care about his well-sourced arguments when it comes to stuff like this. I suspect that he's probably. I assume he's like being slandered with the the pedophile thing, right? I don't think he said that. I don't even think he had a Twitter account at the time to be able to say such a thing. Anyway, I feel like the real reason why people are doing this is because they're trying to stop me from watching this video, which I'm going to. I'm not going to address this any longer.
Of the imprisoning, but like the Palestinians who are imprisoned in Israeli centers are not imprisoned like randomly.
Of thousands of Palestinian detainees being raped and tortured and children. Do you support?
So Lernerbox's response to my criticism here was to first say that he was laughing not at the Palestinian prisoners being put into concentration camps and tortured and raped and all that, and that he didn't make those excuses for that because he thinks the prisoners deserve it, but rather because he was talking about prisoners from the West Bank, not Gaza. Now that is simply not true because Mehdi Hasan was clearly talking about Gaza. You know, he was talking about Palestinian prisoners being tortured. He was talking about them being raped. He was very clearly referring to stories regarding Palestinian prisoners being tortured and raped in Israeli concentration camps near Gaza, not prisoners from the West Bank. So that is just a lie. I mean, everyone knows what he was referring to there. Nonetheless, his talking point is simply a lie because, for one, to claim that prisoners from the West Bank are being kept by Israel on some sort of valid basis is a crock of horseshit in the first place because Israel is an occupier and it has no right to enforce the law in the West Bank. Two, because obviously the rulings of Israeli courts cannot be trusted regarding Palestinians. And three, because Israel has something called administrative detention, which they implement in the occupied West Bank to justify them kidnapping Palestinians and keeping them in prison with no charge whatsoever. Allow me to cite a video that explains this. It's on Lonerbox's channel.
So this is why I always thought Lonerbox was like not necessarily a fucking super pro-Israel guy, because the person speaking in this video is Beast Process, and he's fantastic. He's a fantastic content creator, and that's the reason why I was always shocked. Like, now this is from a couple years ago, and I remember watching this video, and it's an incredibly well-sourced, well put together. Well, I understand that you're claiming that D-Bag said, I'm not even going to repeat that as satire. Take 5 seconds to think if you would ever satirically say that. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. And I think it's weird that he said it even as in a satirical fashion. And the only reason why he said it in a satirical capacity is because he thinks that that kind of edgy shit is funny. Anyway, this is like a very well-sourced. That video is liberal Zionism. No, I don't think like apartheid in Israel and Palestine, like openly recognizing the Israeli apartheid is like necessarily a liberal Zionist position. No, I don't think so. I don't think liberal Zionists recognize that. There are liberal Zionists in Israel who are against West Bank settlements, but it's in a similar vein to our liberals here in America that are openly posturing about like the horrifying things that Donald Trump is inevitably going to do to the Muslim population and how much they're fantasizing about that. It's like they are the ones who will carry out this vicious violence, and liberals can still morally posture as though they're against it. But it's in many instances just basically lip service. But it's not liberal Zionism. Liberal Zionism does not go to the lengths of saying that like there is an apartheid in Israel.
Administrative detentions are arrests and detainments that occur with no charge
no due process, and which could potentially be maintained indefinitely. They are based on secret evidence and are done for security reasons. Palestinians have the right to appeal these detentions, but as mentioned, they and their lawyers do not have access to what the actual charges being raised against them even are.
So yes, Israel would and regularly does kidnap Palestinians from the West Bank on no basis at all. Lonerbox was like, what, you think they would just, take people for no reason at all? There must be a reason for it. Well, there's a video on your channel that literally says that, and I mean, it's proven that they do that regularly, even in the West Bank. But Mehdi wasn't talking about the West Bank. He was talking about Gaza, and that is a deflection in the first place, because you know that your reaction there is indefensible in the context of what Mehdi was actually talking about. So no, I don't buy that. I 100% genuinely believe that you were laughing at Palestinian prisoners being raped and tortured, being kidnapped from Gaza, raped and tortured. And your response was an attempt to justify that specifically, because that's what Mehdi was clearly talking about. You heard him talking about torture, rape, etc. very clearly. And your reaction to that was to say, what, you think Israel would just imprison them and do that to them with no reason? It's impossible to disconnect your reaction from what was actually said, what the thing that you were responding to was, which was not just talking about imprisonment, but also torture and rape. Lonerbox then attempted to deflect from that by bringing up a clip that him and people like him have been spreading recently of Hasan supposedly laughing at what he called raped Jewish women. I will play that clip here.
October 7, 1,200 people were massacred. Many young people who were simply attending a music festival. Women were horribly raped. As I said then, I say today, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would.
Okay, so let's compare these two moments. One, Hasan was laughing at a woman bringing up the supposed mass rape by Hamas of Israeli women on October 7th.
I'm not even laughing. I'm fucking cringing. What are we microanalyzing here? There are other clips where I'm like, there are other clips that these, is that the clip that people are using? That's not even a laugh. Why, dude? Oh my god. We need to figure out a way to fucking put like tone indicators online, even in like live footage, because I don't think people understand. No, that's like very clearly me fucking cringing at Kamala Harris doing yet another. That's the clip that people are using. It was a different clip. They're clearly referring. Yeah, I thought it was a town hall clip where like it's very obvious what I'm laughing at there too. But at least I'm laughing in that one. Like, so what am I doing? Like, what the fuck? Oh my God. These people are like, oh, he's laughing at women being raped. And it's just like, no one looks at the context, myself included. And it turns out the real reason is because like people are either deliberately or without recognizing their own inability to grasp like tone are claiming that I'm laughing at something that I'm cringing at. That's crazy. It's like Fox News that wanted to do a fucking note. And the journalist fucking hit me up and was like, what do you have to say to this? I got like an email. It was really funny. Hold on. I'm going to read this. I don't think they're even going to do a story on it. But if they do, I didn't even respond to them. But I find it really fucking funny regardless. They were like, before we publish, I wanted to ask Piker if you would like to comment on a joke he made during April 18th stream. At around 3:29, he joked that 9/11/2 would be so sick while discussing a potential civil nuclear agreement between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. Here's a link to the stream. This could be seen as jokingly calling for another 9/11 terrorist attack. Does Piker have a response to this? And it's like, are you fucking stupid? I watched the clip. I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? I watched the clip and it's me being sarcastic, openly stating how fucking devastating it is that we are going back into a fucking nuclear armament agreement with Saudi Arabia. Like they literally are, they recognize that they're like, I'm saying it in a joking manner, as in like, I believe the opposite of this thing. Like, what are we doing? Is this journalism now? Is just like unrestricted neurodivergence and my inability to recognize tone and sarcasm is now officially just in writing as journalism. Like, what the fuck? What a brain broken fucking attitude. It's like very clear before or after. If you watch the fucking video, before or after, you understand my position is we shouldn't give Saudi Arabia fucking nukes, right? I was literally going, oh, it's going to be so sick. Yeah, let's give them nukes so they can do 9/11 too. That doesn't mean I'm in agreement with that. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's tough. Like, you literally just misinterpreted Tectone's tone. Yeah, that's crazy that I misinterpreted Tectone's tone when he was talking about why people would consider him to be a fucking anti-me, you know? How would that have happened? How could we have developed this opinion, this attitude? How?
Here's the thing, though. Hasan wasn't laughing at them for being raped. He was laughing at that because there is little to no evidence that it actually happened. The evidence is incredibly sketchy. All of it comes exclusively from a few, very few, individual witness testimonies, most of which are highly inconsistent with later accountings of the same tale. None of these testimonies corroborate each other. There has never been any forensic evidence presented that corroborates any of them. Many of the people who give these testimonies have intimate links to the Israeli state. For example, they are from organizations like Zakat, which works very intimately with the Israeli state. Other testimonies only surfaced far later as part of carefully timed propaganda blitzes by the Israeli state. To put it simply, there is no evidence whatsoever that these testimonies are not simply made up, and they have been utilized by the Israeli state because they simply have no other corroborating evidence.
Yeah, like I was cringing at Kamala's go-to answer that is like a pre-canned fucking NPC-ass statement over and over again. In that situation, I wasn't even laughing. There are other clips out there of me like laughing because I correctly called out that Kamala Harris was going to have a dog shit response. But overall, it's crazy that they're just like that was the clip that they were going with. My opinion on the matter is that there was not systematic rape that occurred on October 7. There's no evidence to suggest that there was systematic rape that was Hamas directed, especially that occurred on October 7. And that I have maintained the position that there is a likelihood that sexual violence occurred, which it does in most conflict across the board, especially considering that there were criminal elements that penetrated the Gaza boundary. Having said that, however, the only verifiable firsthand account of sexual assault has come from a Israeli hostage that was held hostage by Hamas, and that was post October 7. Having said that, however, that has not stopped every single person from routinely saying and repeating the byline of words without violence, or screams without words. Sorry, the New York Times piece that actually was so controversial that New York Times' own editorial board, its own internal staffers, got together, had a meeting, leaked aspects of the meeting to the media to say it did not meet the standards. It did not meet the actual journalistic standards of the New York Times. It was very compelling at the time, and it created a narrative that these guys are like rapist, barbaric monsters or whatever. There are 2 videos of Hamas members being interrogated by Israel and admitted to raping one woman. Would you be willing to talk to Loner? He can be swayed. I like that you asked if I would talk to Loner Box. He could be swayed, and then immediately fucking posted like a type of video that is so historically so clearly created for propaganda purposes that even Israelis don't usually believe it. Like, ask any fucking intelligent person that is even remotely aware of the famous Israeli interrogation videos, and you will understand that none of those fucking videos are real, and none of them actually would ever hold up in a court of law. Actually, those are direct war crimes happening there. Those are people that are offering testimony under duress. It's a very famous thing that Israel does, and it is, once again, a torture confession, which does not mean anything and is not valid in a fucking court of law. It's not only not valid in a court of law, it also quite literally is illegal to do under international law. Nah, Israelis totally believe it. What do you mean? Okay, fair. Maybe Israelis believe it. Those torture confessions, those torture interrogation videos also had Hamas militants after October 7, which we don't even know if they're fucking Hamas militants or not, saying, yes, we are just like ISIS. Yeah, Hamas is ISIS. It almost always corresponds to whatever the Israeli propaganda at the time was. Because you remember, post-October 7, ever like Hamas is ISIS over and over again. And, that was also what came out in the torture confession footage. None of that is actually admissible in a normal court. And as a matter of fact, it is a direct admission of, or a direct recognition of a violation of international human rights.
And this is very weird, given that the Israelis have a ton of video footage of October 7th, yet on this one point, which their propaganda has been harping on, they have nothing.
It's so old school. Edward Said has like a famous point about it.
So Hasan was not laughing at the rape of Jewish women there. And by the way, he did say Jewish in the original video. I have it drilled into my head because he does this all the time. People like him do this all the time. They always emphasize the Jewishness of Israeli people. They always want to paint it as if the only reason why anyone would do anything to an Israeli for any reason is just because of their Jewish identity and nothing else. Of course, in order to dishonestly frame opponents of Israel as anti-Semitic. But the point is, Hasan was laughing because there is little to no evidence for that claim, and it is a core part of the Israeli genocide justifying propaganda. They use it constantly.
Which is also silly, for the record, because another thing that I have famously said is that, like, sexual violence occurring on October 7 does not make the Israeli genocide of all Palestinians appropriate. Like, there is no justification for genocide. So the notion that these are all rapist monsters, they need to be fucking dominated, is an insane one, is an insanely racist perspective.
Constantly to justify the genocide in Gaza, to kill those kids who got shot in the head. Meanwhile, the evidence of Palestinians being mass raped in Israeli concentration camps, in comparison, is so much better. There's so much more of it that it's honestly a joke to even compare the two. Not only are there multiple witnesses who corroborate the same events, but Israel itself actually acknowledged what was happening. Israelis held pro-rape rallies because they thought the rape was actually good. Israeli politicians talked about how the people who were raped deserved it openly. And despite the fact this happened in,
yeah, there's a fucking video footage of it too. That's like what's so insane about
concentration camp, a prison. We have video evidence of it. Like literally, it was filmed and we have the video of it. Compare that to the claims of rape on October 7th. There are 5 or 6 different people who all claim that they were there and that they saw Hamas raping someone. None of their stories corroborate each other, and there is no more evidence that corroborates any of their claims. It's just, I swear I saw this. I swear I saw this thing that is extremely convenient to the propaganda narrative that my country is trying to push to justify a genocide. Do you see the difference in quality here? Do you see how these things are not comparable at all? I would hope so. I mean, we have video evidence of Palestinian prisoners being raped with metal rods in an Israeli concentration camp. Somehow, someone smuggled this video out and got it to the media to be disseminated. Yet there is no video evidence of any single rape on October 7th, despite the barriers to providing it being nowhere near as stringent. Oh, and by the way, people like Lonabox like to cite a UN report into sexual violence on October 7th.
This report, we went through it piece by piece, and even the report itself openly admitted that they did not actually collect evidence. They simply looked at the information that was readily available. A lot of that was rehashing. That is not even at your house, stupid chatter. I don't even know what the fuck that chatter is saying.
7th and in Gaza since then. And that report concluded that it was likely that at least one instance of rape by Palestinian militants of an Israeli occurred on that day. It concluded that, however, based on nothing but the same 5 or 6 witness testimonies that I mentioned. So it came to a very strong conclusion based on almost no evidence. It's super problematic and basically just exists to attempt to give some legitimacy to the flailing Israeli mass rape narrative. Their narrative started out as Hamas systemic mass rape and then ended with this UN report which concludes that, maybe rape happened if you squint a bit and you take very questionable eyewitness testimony with no corroborating evidence at its word. For one, it was not a real investigative report. Israel has a policy of not allowing real third-party investigations into October 7th.
This part is also correct, whether you agree or disagree with badempanada. Like, Israel was very resistant to a UN report, and the original forensic investigation that was supposed to be conducted was very openly ruined by the organizations that were supposed to take care of the bodies. So this is a separate controversy in Israel. This was literally a separate controversy that took place in Israel, including, but not limited to, Zakat, the organization, and the many different issues. But having said all of that, like I said, there is, Israel also forbids doctors from speaking to UN group investigating October 7 atrocities. But having said that, there was there's one instance of a firsthand testimony that was given to Pramila Patton of a hostage that was assaulted sexually.
So all that the people involved in this did is they went around Israel interviewing people, being sort of chaperoned around by the Israeli government, and the only real evidence that they considered to come to that conclusion were a few testimonies. So nothing but individual witness reports. It is an extremely low standard of evidence, given that no one can even name who the rape victims were. There has never been any forensic evidence to corroborate any of this. No photos, no video, and many of the witness statements are clearly coming from unreliable sources, and that there is a clear incentive by the Israeli state to spread such testimonies as much as possible, given that they are committing genocide and they clearly believe that rape on October 7th is good for their propaganda to justify it. None of these people would accept a single Palestinian saying they saw something happen when there was no forensic evidence of it happening, no photo, no video of it happening, no other witnesses who saw that specific event happening, yet they're willing to accept the idea that there was mass rape on October 7th, despite that not even being backed up by these testimonies, and despite even the individual instances that are attested to in these testimonies not being backed up by anything else. So yeah, it is just really a crock of shit, and the double standard really lays bare that all they want to do is justify genocide in any which way. It's not actually about getting to the truth or whatever. It's not actually about being the one enlightened centrist in the room who's critically analyzing both sides equally. It is about justifying genocide. It is about accepting atrocity propaganda from one side uncritically and doing everything possible to deny, downplay, and apologize for the atrocities committed against the victim population.
Come on, dog. Okay, this isn't from months ago. It's from today. Here's a song playing propaganda for a U.S. designated state-sponsored terrorist org. There isn't any fucking questions about this. Will Dan Clancy let us play ISIS songs? Yeah, dude. Iacha is the same as fucking ISIS, dude. Get the fuck out of here. Like, dude, you are out of your fucking mind. I'm done, dude. I fucking hope Twitch bans me for this. I'm fucking so done. Like, yeah, dude, you're right. The fucking official DPRK, like a state in and of itself, like me playing Trolima on the Wing is akin to playing ISIS music videos. Please get the fuck out of your goddamn hug box, dude. Holy shit. It's muted in the broadcast. It's probably copyrighted. That's why. Jesus Christ, dude. What a fucking... This is the problem. Okay? This is the fucking problem. This is like... You're out of your fucking mind. Okay? Yeah. Last time I checked, ISIS doesn't have an emoji. Like, what are we doing? Like, this is a nation state, dude. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't like it. Anyway, MAGA communism, baby. I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna go to Alveus soon. So, hey, if you like this video, please subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss out on any future videos.